Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Vu. I am the Registrar of Voters. Let me just say that I've heard this election as being described as unprecedented. But let me also say that it's uncharted for San Diego County for a number of different reasons. And not only is it because we sent every voter a mail ballot in this upcoming election, it's because the in-person experience has also changed. We're standing here at the Mira Mesa Recreation Center, where it's one of 235 locations throughout the entire county that is currently setting up before we open up for a 4-day period for the very first time in any San Diego County elections, 235 super polling locations that will be opening up tomorrow on October 31st and will remain open all the way through November 3rd until the polls close at 8 p.m. Now, what this consists of is over 3,600 poll workers that have been trained and are setting up all throughout the entire county at 235 sites, their respective locations, to be ready for the polling places to be open tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, when they do open, the hours of operations on October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And these are for any individuals who wish to vote or need to vote at any one of the 235 super polling locations that will be open. Now, what won't change is on election day is that we will have all of these respective locations open again starting at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., which is the normal and a traditional time that polling locations generally open, is on election day for a 13-hour window. Let me just say that it's taken months to prepare for this upcoming election, and we've had to pivot on a dime when it comes down to the preparations of this election due to the pandemic, and all of this is in response to the pandemic itself. Right now, we have nearly 1 million mail ballots that have been returned back to our office, but we know that there are many voters that are out there that still need to turn in their mail ballot, may have not received their mail ballot, or may have made a mistake on their respective mail ballot and need a replacement. Well, any one of the 235 super polling locations will be open for voters. And there are 6 recommendations that we are giving to every single registered voter that has not cast their mail ballot and needs to still vote. First, our first recommendation, of course, if you have your mail ballot in hand, return it back to any one of the 126 mail ballot drop-off locations that we have currently open throughout the entire county. These locations are separate and apart from the 235 super polling locations that we have out there. If you're planning on going in person to vote, the experience is definitely going to be different. What we're asking voters, because there is a pandemic, is to vote early. Vote on October 31st or November 1st or November 2nd. That way it reduces the total number of people that will be going to a super polling location on Election Day, November 3rd, avoiding crowds as well as long lines because of the confluences of individuals, because it's a presidential election, and because of the pandemic and the need for social distancing. Also, if you're planning on voting in person, mark your sample ballot in advance. We have sent out every voter a sample ballot and voter information pamphlet. If you did not receive it, print it online. You can find one of your 842 types of the sample ballot pamphlet for this upcoming election online, and you want to look up your specific ballot type in your sample ballot for you to pre-mark, and then once you get to a polling location, you can transfer those votes onto your official ballot so it's seamless, efficient for the next voter behind you. Third, go to your assigned polling location. Not only did we send every voter their sample ballot and voter information pamphlet, but on the back side of that is your assigned polling location. Every voter of the 1.95 million registered voters, which is a historic record number for this upcoming election, has been assigned to one of those 235 super polling locations. Again, we want voters to be distributed across the 235 sites across the 4 days of active voting that can occur. Fourth, bring your mask and make sure you wear it. Now, if you forget your mask, we will have a supply of masks here at any one of the 235 super polling locations that are out there. Fifth, in terms of our recommendation, is make sure that you are socially distanced once you get here. And we will absolutely go through the voter flow of an individual coming on site to any one of our super polling locations, having them sanitized before they enter the voting area. And then the final and probably the most important recommendation I can give is make sure you bring patience. There's been a number of confluences of events that have transpired throughout the entire country. There's been concerns about voter intimidation. There's been concerns about the presidential race. There's been concerns about the pandemic, about how this will all come together. Let me just say that voters out there, the community on whole, have coalesced around our Vote Safer San Diego campaign. That's why we've received nearly 1 million mail ballots back, is because they've heeded our call and warnings to socially distance, to vote safely, and that's voting their mail ballots, getting back to our office. But if you're planning on voting here at any one of the 235 locations, including the Mira Mesa Recreation Center, we want you to do it safely, but also bring that level of patience, because if there is a large turnout, and we're expecting hundreds of thousands of individuals across those 4 days to get to one of these 235 respective locations, and if there is a long line, make sure that you are patient. Similar to how you've actively been patient at any other locations that you've traveled to, whether that's your coffee, whether that's Costco. Same thing when it comes down to here at our 235 super polling locations that is out there. Know that we have purchased not only to protect our poll workers, but to protect voters as well, a huge amount of personal protective equipment. From 300,000 masks to over 800,000 gloves to 12,000 bottles of hand sanitizer bottles to 500 hand sanitizer dispensing as you enter as well as exit any of the respective locations. Certainly we purchased 21 pallets of plexiglass. Know that the experience for our voters is not one check-in station, but 7 check-in stations. Not only is it 4 poll workers, it's now going to be 15 poll workers. Not only is it going to be 300 square feet in space, it's going to be on average 2,000 square feet in space. Again, all of this was thoughtfully thought through, not only between the Registrar Voters Office, but also our public health officials to keep everyone safe. And so voters who are planning on coming in person can do their part and make sure that you go to your assigned location, make sure you contemplate going across those 4-day period, and make sure that you're prepared once you get to your respective polling location. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions. We are closely working with our law enforcement agencies, and not just our sheriff officers, but all of the allied law enforcement agencies. The sheriff is coordinating with all of the allied law enforcement agencies throughout the entire county. Let me just say that we are also closely working with the FBI on this, but they are a measure of last resort. Our poll workers, our site managers have been trained. Our site managers has been trained for over a week, as well as our poll workers for not just a 2-day period or 2-hour period, but a 2-day period on things like de-escalation techniques. If we see that there is any level of campaigning or electioneering that's happening within 100 feet of our polling locations, our site managers will be out there asking them to get as far as 100 feet from their respective polling locations to not ensure that a voter has the ability to get inside a polling location without any level of interference, intimidation, or rhetoric. Again, a polling location is a sanctuary for voters. The U.S. Supreme Court has upheld that there is a right of a voter to retire inside their polling locations free of intimidation, free of interference, as well as free from any level of rhetoric. When these polling locations open, and that comes under the umbrella of the Registrar of Voters, and that umbrella includes the voters themselves of being able to vote freely their selections without any level of interference in that process. Well, let me go ahead if there are no other questions. Oh, yes. If a person cannot wear a mask because they have medical conditions or they refuse to wear a mask, that individual, we will actually have line managers to identify that. They will approach the individual to offer a mask, and if it's one of these specific situations, what we will do is have that voter vote outside of the actual voting area. socially distance outside the voting area. Okay. Well, let me kind of go step through the actual process itself in terms of every single location and use Mira Mesa as an example of that process. Thank you. I should mention one other thing is that every single one of our super polling locations that are out there has a site-specific plan, okay? That means that every single one of these locations, including the Mira Mesa, has a location that has been laid out for them in terms of all of our voting booths, where the check-in station should be, measuring out the 6 feet from voting booth to check-in stations, from voting booth to voting booth. That way, we can make sure that every voter that comes here is safe and healthy environment for them to vote. And this is just a listing that we have created, and there are 235 sets of these across all of our respective locations that are out there. Not only does it give you the protocols in place and outlines what those protocols are, the cleaning protocols, the donning and doffing of gloves, the setup of the actual location itself, and the cleansing and the sanitizing aspect of it, but it also has the actual layout of the room itself. And so we surveyed every single one of these respective locations to make sure that we laid it out to give the site manager, to give the facility owner a sense of how we are keeping everyone safe and the poll owners themselves a safe environment after we leave the site itself. Okay. And so this contains every single one of those locations. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the flow.